Kia ora everybody, and welcome into another week of the Whale Watch Weekly Updates. For those of you that don't know, my name is Josh, and I'll be running you through some of the sightings that we have had this week, and also some of the sea conditions and weather conditions coming up for the next few days. Now, how these work, if you are new to these, I usually go through all this, and it only takes roughly about 10 to 15 minutes. I like to keep it short and sharp. I don't want to waffle on too much, as everybody will probably get sick of my voice. So let's just crack straight into it. Now, we've had a very busy week this week. With it being school holidays, we've had a lot of visitors coming through the company, and also winter. We're not as busy as we are in summer, but the tours that we've had this past week have been the boats have been packed, and they have had some very good sightings. So let's just crack straight into it. So let's go back to the 4th of July, which was last Friday. And last Friday we actually had 3 tours for that day, and all 3 tours were very successful. Now, the first tour went out at 7:45 in the morning, and on that tour they seen Lazarus, which is one of our semi-resident sperm whales that we get to see here in Kaikoura. Got to see 3 different individual humpback whales, a pod of dusky dolphins, the southern royal albatross, the shy mollymawk albatross, Cape petrels, and also the northern giant petrel. They also went out once again at 10:30 on the same day, and this tour here looks like it was very, very interesting. So on this tour they got to see our semi-resident sperm whale being mati. They got 6 different individual humpback whales. They also came across a pod of 40 dusky dolphins, the Gibson's wandering albatross, the shy mollymawk albatross, the Buller's mollymawk albatross, a white morph, and also a northern giant petrel. On this tour as well, the 10:30 tour, Mati had 2 humpback whales within 50 metres of him. So, hopefully some of our researchers captured some photos, and if we have, I will grab them and I'll put them on next week for everybody to show. But seen a white morph. Now, we don't see white morphs every day. In the year, we would be lucky to see maybe a handful of white morphs. And a white morph is this type of bird. It's a southern giant petrel. Now, the white morphs, only 10% of southern giant petrels turn into a white morph. So basically, a white morph itself, they actually look like, I'll bring up a photo. Sorry, just bear with me. So that's a northern giant petrel. The southern giant petrels look very, very similar. See how it's all brown? Now, once it turns into a white morph, as I was saying, only 10% of them turn into white morphs. They turn into a pure white bird looking exactly like that. So, it was a very special moment and a very special tour, that one, and especially to have 2 humpback whales around Mati. They were on the surface at the same time Mati was as well, and it looked like that the 2 humpback, like Mati was sitting on the surface like this, and both humpback whales here looked like it was going towards them, but they just cruised on by, and Mati carried on doing his thing. Cool, and on that same day, at 1:15 in the afternoon, or 1:15, we had another very successful tour, and on that tour there was Lazarus, 2 individual humpback whales, a pod of dusky dolphins, some New Zealand fur seals, the Gibson's wandering albatross, the shy mollymawk albatross, the Buller's mollymawk albatross, Cape petrels, and northern giant petrels. So for those of you that are not familiar with seabirds and albatross, you hear me say Gibson's wandering albatross, northern royal, and southern royals. When you hear those 3 names, they are the larger of the albatross family. So the Gibson's wandering albatross is known to be the largest wingspan of bird in flight today. Average wingspan of about 3.5 metres, but has been recorded over 4.2 metres. Also, the Southern Royal and the Northern Royals, they have large wingspans as well, reaching up over that 3 metre mark. When you hear me say the Mollymawk albatross, it is the smallest species of albatross. Now, when I say smaller species, it is compared to the Gibson's wandering and the Royals. But the Mollymawk still have a large wingspan. The average wingspan of a Mollymawk is 2.5 metres. So even though it's still quite large, it is still a metre smaller than the Gibson's wandering and also the Royals. So moving on to Saturday, the 5th of July. We had one tour on that day, or we actually had a couple more booked, but unfortunately the weather conditions were not kind to us. But we managed to get out in the afternoon and we had a successful tour. And on that tour, they've seen mati mati, they've seen 2 different individual humpback whales, they've seen the Northern Royal Albatross, the Shy Mollymawk Albatross, Buller's Mollymawk and Black-browed Mollymawk Albatross, and also a Cape Petrel. And then I do see in the notes from the captain saying they just got the whale encounters, and after they got the whale encounters, within 5 minutes the weather settled in and the visibility closed in and they couldn't see much. So it was perfect timing. However, moving on to Sunday the 6th of July. Now, the Sunday was a very nice day here in Kaikoura, and on that day we had 3 tours, and the first tour going out at 7:45 in the morning. On that first tour, they come across Mati Mati, our semi-resident sperm whale, 3 different individual humpback whales, a pod of dusky dolphins, some New Zealand fur seals, the Southern Royal Albatross, Shy Mollymawk Albatross, the Buller's Mollymawk and the Black-browed, and also came across some Cape Petrels. The next tour at 10:30 on Sunday, it was very successful again. On that tour they come across our well-known semi-resident whale being Tiaki. Also got an encounter with a humpback whale, a pod of dusky dolphins, a Northern Royal Albatross, the Shy Mollymawk Albatross, the Buller's Mollymawk Albatross, and the Black-browed Mollymawk Albatross, and some Cape Petrels. Moving on to the afternoon tour for Sunday at 1:15. On this tour they had 3 encounters with whales, 2 of them being sperm whales, and they were Mati Mati and also Tiaki. They had an encounter with a humpback whale, some dusky dolphins, New Zealand fur seal, the Gibson's wandering albatross and Northern Royal Albatross, the Shy, Buller's and Black-browed Mollymawk Albatross, and also the Cape Petrel and Northern Giant Petrel. Moving on to Monday the 7th of July. Another day that we had 3 tours, and on this day we had 7:45 tour Lazarus. We also got a few New Zealand fur seals, the Gibson's wandering albatross, the Shy Mollymawk Albatross, and some Cape Petrels. The 10:30 tour went out and was successful. They got an encounter with Mati Mati, also a humpback whale, some dusky dolphins, some New Zealand fur seals, the Buller's Mollymawk Albatross, and some Cape Petrels. And then rounding that day off with the 1:15 tour was very, very good and very exciting again. On this tour, they had 2 encounters with our semi-resident whale being Marama. They got an encounter with Mati Mati, got an encounter with Auraki, a pod of dusky dolphins, some New Zealand fur seals, some Buller's Mollymawk Albatross, and some Cape Petrels. However, I did see in the notes that on this tour something special happened, And what it was, ladies and gentlemen, some lucky passengers and crew members got to see this. Two sperm whales on the surface together at the same time. And these two sperm whales, the one on the left hand side is marama, and the one on the right hand side is auraki. So very, very successful tour, and very lucky passengers to get to see this. We don't see this often. It does happen, but maybe, just a wild guess off top of my head, maybe a dozen times of the year. But to get them diving at the same time to see two tails, that doesn't happen often as well. So some very lucky passengers on that tour, being Monday the 7th. Moving on to Tuesday the 8th of July, another day that we had 3 tours. On that day, 7:45 tour, we had 2 encounters with 2 different individual sperm whales, being Mati Mati and Marama. We got to see the Gibson's Wandering Albatross, also the Northern and Southern Royal Albatross. We also got to see the Shy and the Salvin's Mollymawk Albatross, some Cape Petrels, some Westland Petrels and Northern Giant Petrels. Then on the 10:30 tour, they went back out and they were successful. They got an encounter with Mati Mati. They got to see a humpback whale. They got to see the Gibson's Wandering, the Northern and Southern Royal Albatross. They got to see the Shy and the Salvin's Mollymawk Albatross, some Cape Petrels, some Northern Giant Petrels, the Buller's Shearwater, and also the Hutton Shearwaters. And then rounding that day off on Tuesday the 8th of July, they had 4 encounters with whales, 2 of them being sperm whales. The first encounter was Marama. The second encounter was Mati Mati. The other 2 encounters were with humpback whales, and they were 2 different individuals. They also got to see the 3 largest wings, or the 3 larger albatross, being the Gibson's Wandering, the Northern and the Southern Royals. They got to see the Shy and the Salvin's Mollymawk Albatross, some Cape Petrels, Westland Petrels, Northern Giant Petrels, some Buller's Shearwaters, and also the famous blackback and red ball gulls. And then yesterday, the 9th of July, another day that we had 3 tours. And yesterday was a very good day out on the ocean. Starting off at 7:45 in the morning, 2 encounters with Lazarus himself, an encounter with Marama, a pod of dusky dolphins, the Shy and the black-browed Mollymawk Albatross, some Cape Petrels, Northern Giant Petrels, some Takapu, being the Australasian Gannet, and also the blackback and red ball gull. On the 10:30 tour, another successful tour. Going out, they seen Lazarus, they seen Mati Mati, they seen some dusky dolphins, the Gibson's Wandering, the Northern and Southern Royal Albatross, the Shy and the Salvin's Mollymawk Albatross, some Cape Petrels, Northern Giant Petrels, Westland Petrels, Buller's Shearwater, some Fairy Prions, and the blackback and red ball gull. Rounding yesterday off was a very successful tour. 4 encounters with whales, and 2 of them being sperm whales once again. So Lazarus was the first encounter, and Mati Mati was the second encounter. They got to see 2 different individual humpback whales, some New Zealand fur seals, the Shy and the black-browed Mollymawk Albatross, the Northern Giant Petrel, the Spotted Shag, another Australasian Gannet, and the blackback and red ball gull. Moving on to round our week off was today. And today we had 3 tours on. The first one leaving at 7:45 in the morning. And on this tour they seen marama, they seen mati mati, they got to see some dusky dolphins, the shy mollymawk albatross, the northern giant petrels, and also the blackback and red ball gull. At 10:30 we went back out and another successful tour. On that tour they seen marama, they came across mati mati once again, some more dusky dolphins, the northern royal albatross, the shy mollymawk albatross, some cape petrels, and the blackback and red ball gull. And then finishing the day off this afternoon, it was a very good tour. Now, at 1:15 this afternoon, that is when our last tour of the day was, they went out and on this tour they got to see mati mati twice, they got to see a humpback whale, they also got to see a fin whale, a pod of dusky dolphins, the northern royal, the shy mollymawk albatross, some cape petrels, some northern giant petrels, some white-fronted terns, Australasian gannet, and also the blackback and red ball gull. Cool, so what I want to do, I want to bring a picture up of a fin whale. Now we don't get to see fin whales often. A lot of time we see them mostly in summer, but just some interesting facts about the fin whale. Fin whales are known as the second largest whale in the world, just behind the blue whale. Now the fin whale, males, they grow up to 18 to 22 meters in length. Females grow up to 20 to 24 meters in length. They sort of get up to a weight of 70 to 80 ton. They are also among one of the fastest whales, reaching up to a speed of 40 kilometers an hour. They're most commonly found in the northern Atlantic, the North Pacific, Southern Ocean, and also here in Kaikoura on occasions. The fin whale, it is a baleen whale, so they don't feed on big sharks, squid, or fish. These whales here are known to feed on the small fish or krill or plankton. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that was all our sightings for the week. So it has been a very busy week here at Whale Watch Kaikoura. We had no cancelled days. We had some cancelled tours, and that was on last Saturday due to the weather conditions. But apart from that, every other day we have been going out and every tour has been successful. So we just keep our fingers crossed it carries on like this. But now I'm going to move on to some weather and sea conditions. So, coming up, tomorrow we've got northeast, 25 knots, rising to 35 knots in the afternoon, then 45 knots in the evening. Looks like it's going to be some very strong wind coming. Swell rising up to 3 meters. That is something that we do not want to see. Southwest swell rising to 2 meters, poor visibility and periods of rain from the afternoon. So tomorrow could be a bit touch and go whether we sail or not, but you never know. This wind here might stay on the outside, so we'll just see what the day brings. But looking at that wind, it looks like it won't be, 3 meters is very uncomfortable. However, moving on to Saturday, looks like that wind's still around, 35 knots, becoming northerly 15, but 25 knots north of the Kaikoura Peninsula in the morning. And then it eases right down to 10 knots. So sea very rough. And then it eases. However, moving on to Sunday, we've got northerly 15 knots rising to 25 knots. Sea becoming rough, moderate easterly swell. And then on Monday, we've got 25 knots in northerly, easing to northwest 15 knots early. So when we see northwest, we actually don't mind that. It can make our sea quite calm, especially if there's a big swell. You get a bit of northwest wind on it, and it can actually flatten it right off. So looking at that forecast there, tomorrow does not look like it's the best, but we'll still be hopeful. Apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have time for tonight. I hope you are enjoying these and staying updated with us throughout the weeks here at Whale Watch Kaikoura. For those of you that don't know, I will be doing these once a week on a Thursday, 6 p.m. New Zealand time. And then as we get busier throughout the year and start getting more tours, that is when I'll start doing maybe 2 to 3 of these streams a week. As I was saying, I only like to keep these nice and short. Don't want to waffle on too much and burst anyone's eardrums. So tune in next week at 6 p.m. on Thursday, and I'll give you an update of what happens throughout the week here at Whale Watch Kaikoura. Apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody has had a beautiful week. The weekend is coming up. We hope you have a beautiful weekend. We hope the weather is nice wherever you are in the world. Apart from that, guys, you take care, and we will see you next week. Ka kite anō.